And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Racer Insider Show. I'm Travis Turner, joined by the Racer Insider, my friend Lindy Suter. And man, we have got a big show for you today. We record on Friday, January 30th, heading into the weekend. The Racers with a huge showdown at Belmont. In fact, two huge showdowns. The women will also be in action. And Racer fans, we need you to get to Nashville if you can. They're calling for a red out down there at Belmont. So they're fired up and certainly excited about their men who are currently number one on the men's side of things. Their ladies right there battling with our women for the top spot in the Missouri Valley. So a lot at stake in these conference races as the race does move to Nashville on Saturday. Lindy and I will be reflecting on what's going on with the current edition of the Racers, and it has been a struggle of late, a third consecutive conference loss coming at home to Illinois State. We'll review that. We'll look ahead to Belmont, and then we've got a treat for you as we continue to unveil the members of the Suter 60, celebrating Lindy's 60 years as a fan of Racer men's basketball. We have already been through the All 60s Club, and we will get into the 70s and to the 80s, and it is a deep and talented roster. Lindy and I were just talking prior to starting our recording about how many amazing players that we've been able to watch in Racer basketball history, and it's going to be a fun stroll down memory lane talking about those guys. Before we get rolling, though, we do want to thank our friends at Suter Insurance Group for being our sponsor here on the show. Suter Insurance Group, 270-753-5842 and online at SuterINSgroup.com. And Lindy, one thing that I don't think we have done, obviously plenty of ways to contact your great team as you talk about them today. Why don't you tell people where you guys are physically in Murray, Kentucky?
Right. Yeah, we're located at 905 Sycamore Street, which is catty corner to Buck's Body Shop, and next door to the chiropractor and the beauty shop there on the corner, which used to be where I actually started my insurance career back in 1981, was on that corner. So it's kind of wild that here I am this many years later, and I'm just 2 doors down.
Full circle.
Still got that Sycamore address, so that's cool. But yeah, we got good location here. Plenty of parking. Very comfortable place to work at, and we enjoy being over here on Sycamore Street.
Thinking about 1981, we'll take you back in the time machine to 1981 here in a little bit. We'll talk about what was going on with the Racers. Exciting times for the Racers then, and Lindy, a little bit of turbulent times for the Racers right now. The Iowa trip, unkind certainly, and one might have thought that being back home would have been a little salve for those wounds, but Illinois State coming in, very rude guests, and leaving with a 70-65 victory that leaves the Racers on a 3-game skid and now leaves them looking up at Belmont, the new leader on the men's side in the Missouri Valley.
Yeah, I thought our contract said that we were not going to do shows after a loss. Did I not read it correctly? They're always the hardest ones to do, Travis. After we lose, we all become coaches really fast. But anyway, no, it's been a struggle. And, to me, I'm just going to, my eyeballs just looking at them, they just look a little slower right now than they have in the past. They actually look like a little tired team to me. And of course, all you got to do is, you can dissect every part of the game, defense, giving up too many shots in the paint, letting them get by you, whatever you want to. But when you've got a team that is geared around hitting the 3-point shot, we've shot more 3-point attempts than any team in the league right now. Any team. We've shot more. And in the past 3 games, we've hit, I think these stats are right, 18 out of 80. If you just slide that up to 30% or 35%,
right,
you're adding 30 to 35 points, 36 points onto that total of those 3 games.
Right.
And that's not shooting 40%. That's just shooting a very well average 35%. But what has me concerned is that we're this deep into it. And if I'm correct, I looked at the stats, we're 32% shooting 3-point team right now.
That's correct.
And that ain't good when you're geared around hitting that 3-point shot. And when you got guys that you recruited to hit 3-point shots, they're the ones that are missing most of the 3-point shots. You got to get it fixed. Now, my thinking is these guys have shot it well in the past. And hopefully here soon, they're going to break that code spell. Because if we are hitting our 3-point shot, as my buddy Smidge said on the Missouri Valley Conference message board, we're the best team in the league. When we're not hitting the 3-point shot, we're mid-level. We're a mid-level team. We're a number 5 team, a number 6 team, a number 4 team, whatever, when we're not hitting. So that's kind of just what I see from my seat over on 109, seat 11.
Well, Lindy, I think your vision is clear there in terms of what you're seeing. The problem that occurs in conference basketball, and this is why the non-conference always has to be looked at least a little bit from a wary and a very cautious way, because when teams play in the non-conference, they'll do a scout. They're obviously aware of who they're playing and how those teams play, what their weapons are, what their preferences are, perhaps what their weaknesses are. But teams tend to play just to play. I mean, you're getting your minutes, your reps, your dress rehearsals, all of those things. There's not a lot of grind done on the scout, and so obviously everybody's going to have a soft landing at home. The Racers certainly did. There wasn't a lot of meat on the bone in terms of competition when people came into the CFSB Center in the non-conference and had some good neutral court and road game competition quite clearly. But what happens in conference play, if you are not diligent and if you are not a club that is going to impose your will and your style of play. We talked all non-conference about the pace and the tempo and the number of shots on goal. The scoring certainly was in the 90s consistently, and now all of that has ground to a halt. And the thing about it is, and of course, we are fighting to do things differently on the women's side, given some realities about our roster. We're not deep enough right now. We're not talented enough. We've kind of gotten away from the system that we had intended to install. Maybe we'll get back to that. Maybe we won't. But Lindy, when you start playing half court conference basketball, that's when percentages matter. That's when it becomes about efficiency. And that is a ruthlessly dangerous game to play. Because the thing that has to be understood is just by point margin, and it was 5 on the other night against Illinois State. 2 more threes, 6 more free throws, 3 more twos would have summited that difference. And what people have to understand is it would not matter if you took 15 more shots or 6 more shots to get the extra points. You just need the extra points. But the shots on goal, if we take you back to George Washington, if we take you back to any of those happy moments where the Racers were scoring 90-plus points in the non-conference, the shots on goal are also up around 90. They're certainly in the 80s. The other night against Illinois State, the total is 77.
Wow.
And so pace is gone. And if your opponent won't run, and most of these teams are not going to, then you have to make them go. And as we've said before, if you're going to go through the process of playing 10 people, then play at pace. I understand what everybody wants to see. And let's be honest about what basketball fans, you want your team to score on every possession. You want the opponent to never score. That's just the way people see it. And what happens is if you don't score, people say bad offense or good defense by the other side. And if the opponent scores, you say we're playing bad defense. Well, maybe we are, maybe we aren't, but we've talked about some of the realities of who this club is. And here's the thing. Fred offensively was terrific the other night against Illinois State. But if Fred King is on the floor and they put his man in a ball screen and they keep playing drop coverage, then they're going to go right to the front of the rim. That's what's going to happen. They are going to get below the foul line, and because these are really good college players, they are going to make these baskets. They're just going to do it. Now, you talked about it. Everybody's a coach. Well, I'm ready all the time. And the scouting report that I gave you back in the non-conference, here's what's going to happen. They're going to crowd Miller. They're going to crowd Shorter. They're going to run them off. They're going to deny them three-point catches. But if they get it there, they're going to dare them to be playmakers off the bounce. That's not who they are. That's not what they're going to do. That's not going to change. You are going to press Lane Taylor underneath the three-point arc, and you're going to make him a small box area playmaker. You're going to make him a two-point shooter. He was 3 for 3 the other night on twos. They're certain that's not going to beat them. He's going to have to make plays in traffic. He's been doing that, but they're not going to let the volume threes happen. Then they've done their research. They've seen the numbers. They know what Javon Jackson's career numbers are. They know what his stroke looks like. Javon's a very good player. He has had a very good year. No one's going to watch him shoot from 22 feet and think they should teach that. Okay? That's just the reality. When they look at what he can do, he can get downhill, he can finish in the lane, he can get to the foul line. If he wants to shoot 6 threes a game, they're going to be more than happy to let him do that. They're going to let J.J. Traynor be the guy that catches it in rotation, okay? That's what they're going to do. And if Roman wants to take a bunch of threes instead of get downhill to the foul line, go right ahead. And here's the other thing that happened with Jackson and Roman the other night against Illinois State. Dribble, 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 dribble. Hero basketball. The capes were out. We're taking bad shots. We're taking one-legged fallaways. Guess how many free throws that's going to result in? 0. 0. And all that does is feed in to the scouting machine. Guess what tape Belmont will have reviewed in preparation for Saturday? They're going to know exactly how they're going to play the Racers. If Fred King can beat us, if we score 80, can they beat us with him making 2 at a time and maybe making some free throws? That's a chance they'll take because they have decided the same thing the Racers had done so effectively previously. If you can, Murray was winning threes and frees, Lindy. We were coming in here and they were winning threes and frees by 25 points.
I know.
It was 52-27. It was 48-13. Well, the other night they won it, but they won it 27-26.
Yeah.
That's not the margin that they need. And Murray is a team, and I know Drake scored 101, but if Murray scores 90 a night, I dare somebody to beat them. I don't think they can consistently do that. And I understand that fans want them to be better defensively. I understand that. That's not the club you bought. That's not what you purchased at the store. You have a club full of offensive players. It is not a good defensive group. KJ Tenner is an outstanding defender, Lindy. One of the best on-ball defenders in the conference. Offensively in Missouri Valley Conference play, he's 9 of 33 from the field, 2 of 11 from 3, 5 of 8 from the line. So, if you want to be better defensively, play him more. I mean, there are guys that can make the club better defensively. They will also make them worse offensively. And here's the question I'm going to put to you. You're not going to want this question, but I'm going to ask you anyway.
Oh, man.
Because a lot has been made right here about having a professional basketball team. Yes?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yes, a professional basketball operation. That is what it is.
Yes.
That is what it is. A professional basketball team has to be held to account for their performance, just like the St. Louis Cardinals do, just like the Memphis Grizzlies do. What's happening to Mark Pope and the folks in Lexington? Do people know they spent over $20 million on their basketball team? They sure do. They didn't like it when they got blown out by Vanderbilt when guys were getting a scholarship and a $100 handshake and a gift certificate to Doll Hairs. Sure as hell don't like it when they're paying $20 million for it. And the question is, how long till the bill comes due? What are the expectations and what should they be when you went out and you bought your club?
Well, I think the expectation is you're going to win a championship. I think that's what the expectation is going to be. I think my expectation going into the season was to get to the weekend, to be playing on the weekend in St. Louis. After watching us play, I got a little greedy. I think, we're pretty good. I really like the looks of this team. I think we're going to win the league for sure, hands down. That was my thought. And I really was kind of thinking that, but I did notice we were struggling in a lot of games to win, games that we were kind of supposed to win, that
Right.
could have went either way. And now after sitting in through here and watching all these teams play, there's one thing that really hits me, and I got to remind myself every year, this is not the OVC.
That is correct.
Every team is good. Even the teams at the bottom have almost knocked off all the teams at the top. Indiana State's a perfect example. They're down at the bottom of the league, and they got a very well-coached team that's capable of winning every night. And so that's got me. But the expectations at Murray State, professional, non-professional, whatever, is we want to win a championship. We didn't win a championship in the past 3 years, and we all know what happened.
Right.
And I think the expectations now are even greater. What do you think?
Well, I think they have to be, Lindy, and you know, it's to me, this is one of the unintended consequences and an unfortunate consequence of, for lack of a better term, the big business that is college athletics now. You know,
Yeah.
Murray State is not and will never be confused with Power Four. We understand that just based on our location and the resources that we have. But as we have discussed, I think Murray State athletics is doing a great job, a very aggressive job at trying to be at the top of their marketplace competitively. It is understood the deep love and affection for this basketball program. That's why we're talking about the great history that it has, because that's where the tradition may not matter to the young men coming here. They may be coming here for the paycheck and the opportunity, and that's understood. That's fair. But to the fan base and to the people that are supporting it, the tradition and the expectation does matter. And I think if Brother Larry was here with us right now, he would tell us that in 1985, the expectation was the same. In 1995 and in 2005 and in 2015, you know, that's what it was. Our friend Matt McMahon felt great pressure before Ja Morant and Shaq Buchanan showed up.
Yes.
And of course, once those tools arrived and he used them extremely well and continued to with KJ and with Tevin and all those guys, as this program rose back to the cusp of the top 20 on a regular basis, you know, that's what drives the fans' expectations. But there's also a reality when you have gone out and you have poured in resources to match or exceed everybody in the Missouri Valley. I mean, that's why the Steinbrenner family expects the Yankees to win.
That's why our coaching position was the number 2 ranked coaching position in the Valley by all the other coaches.
It's extremely attractive. And here's the other reality.
And it's also important to know that, you know, we're getting into a revenue sharing era too, not just people giving money.
Yes.
I mean, how many people walk through that gate, how many advertisements you sell and all that kind of stuff. So there's a real reason why you want to win.
Right.
Is that right there? Because if you're spending that money, it's like when I spend money here at the agency, you want some policies being sold.
Yeah. ROI, baby.
The commissions coming in. Come on in. Because I got expenses. And it's the same way with that. So if you make an investment, if I make an investment on the insurance agency, I expect better results.
Sure. Well, and here's
and not spending it. So I've got to sell more. And that's what we got to do now. When you're into this market of the professional, you've got to you got to win.
Right.
Just like your buddy athletic director said about at Indiana, is that what it was?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's all about winning.
Yeah. That's what this is.
Winning. Now it's even more important about winning because we're getting into where we're paying players. In order to pay players, you got to bring in money.
And people are not going to do it if the product is not there.
So there's more pressure, I would say, now than ever, probably on a coach to win.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and what Kurt Cignetti has done at Indiana in 2 years with one of football's great historical doormats, you know, patience is dead between the money and people being able to turn situations around quickly. You know, we really, in a lot of ways, have lost reason and rationale. I mean, you know, sometimes you have to step back and you have to understand, look, everybody else we're competing against, they're competing too. And,
Right.
and I guarantee you the other night, Illinois State's guys could give a damn what Murray State is paying their players.
Yeah.
They came down to beat their tail, whether they're here as walk-ons or whether they're here as millionaires. They came down here to kick their tail, and Belmont's going to try to do the same. The other thing I would say as far as gloom and doom and the 3-game struggles, look, win on Saturday at Belmont and you climb right back in the driver's seat in the Missouri Valley race.
Exactly. We've got we've got 4 big games, 4 whatever games big.
That's a fact.
We're talking about at Belmont on Saturday, and then when we come back with Illinois, Chicago, who is so good. Of course, Belmonted in. I mean, you think, okay, Belmont's 4 points behind with 1:50 to go. Well, they're going to win. You got to have them down by 15. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, they hit every big shot that they've got to hit. I mean, that is a solid team. And they have been doing it now year after year after year.
Right.
And we're going to have our hands full with Illinois, Chicago when they roll into town. And then I think we've got, and by the way, starting at the Northern Iowa game, if you see the seat vacated on row 8, section 109, it's not because of anything that has to do with the team's performance. Okay. It's my shoulder gets replaced on February the 10th. So I don't think I'm going to be where I've got to get the surgery done on the 9th. So I'm not at the Northern Iowa game. I'm going to be about 3 or 4 days off surgery when Belmont rolls to town. So that might be interesting there. I might have to get some pool somewhere and somebody roll me in there and set me somewhere where nobody can see me. But anyway, so that's not the reason. If I'm not missing an action, it's because I'm watching. I'm watching on ESPN Plus. Just want to clear that up because sometimes I'm not there. Everybody's wondering where the heck's he?
Yeah, I tell people,
is he sick?
Hey, I think after 60 years of supporting these guys, people know that you're not fair weather. They know you're going to be with them, and it's interesting to go back and to talk about the struggles with shooting. And look, it happens. I don't care how good you are as a shooter when your job is to make contested 23, 24, 25 footers. It comes and it goes. And we've talked about before, when a guy gets to 40%, he doesn't typically do that because he made 4 out of every 10 over and over again. Sometimes it's 2 of 10, sometimes it's 6 of 10. We know what kind of shooters Mason and Braden and Lane all are. But I always do want to highlight the fact that so do the opponents. Nobody knows it better than the other coaching staff, and they're going to work really, really hard, to take those guys away. And that's just like, go back to Javon and the role he has played for this team. And he has made so many big plays per minute. He is arguably as productive as any player has been in the Missouri Valley all year long. And, one of the things that you love about him is if he makes a mistake, it will be of commission, not of omission. He is going to try to make a play. I think Roman has felt that need as well. And that's some of the sort of the stuff. I don't think any of these guys are selfish. I think the other night they feel the offense bogged down. They realize the struggle. And so they're like, I'm capable of making a play. I'm going to go try to make a play. But I think, Lindy, for me, the key for these guys is that the ball, even if you're not playing in transition, and by the way, I've got into my notes somewhere here.
They got some hands.
4 fast break points the other night. So that tells you how little was done in transition. But the ball's got to move on offense. It's getting stuck too much. Yes, too much dribbling.
Yeah, too much dribbling. We didn't see hardly any kickouts. Guards are getting in that paint and and they're not getting the kickouts that they had before. And I'm sure that has to do with the scouting that you have referred to.
Right. You force them under, and then you don't help off the shooters. Right. You just tell Lane or KJ, if it's Mason or Braden, you just push them underneath. And if they want to take a 2, they want to take a 2. And again, we have this conversation so much with people that know Rochelle and I and the women's team. And of course, it took forever to get her on a night where we had won 100-80. She would go on the radio and apologize because we gave up 80 points. Hey, 100 to 80 is the same as 60 to 40. It's 20-point margin, and you'll hear all these people. They'll come on a broadcast and go, Northern Iowa's top 5 in the country in defense because they allow so few points. Well, hey guys, they also score so few points because they have so few points. Settle down.
Defense ought to be the statistic.
Yes,
points.
They are rates and they are efficiency. They are not total points. But anyway, that's a whole nother thing. I'll do a special show on one day on why all broadcasts should go to cameras only. Cameras only. Show us the floor.
I do that a lot.
You don't have to do anything else. Show us the floor.
A lot.
Show us the floor.
Lisa will say, "Why are you watching that game with the volume turned down?"
For my sanity. For my sanity. With smart TV's light, Lisa, it'll fly really far. I'm going to become a discus smart television channel. You know my history in broadcasting. I got a special show coming for people there. All right, we got to get to the 70s and the 80s. Let's talk about Belmont real quick. If there is a club as deep as the Racers, you're going to see it on Saturday. And they've been playing without Nick McLean, who is a really good player and a really good shooter. But their depth has really been on display of late, and it was the other night in their most recent win. Tyler Lundblade is their leading scorer, and man, he is a volume 3-point shooter, nearly 15 a night on the season. He has made 73 triples already, and he's going to let him fly. He's taking 189, so he ain't bashful. If he gets his feet lined up, gets them organized, it's going to get going. Sam Orm averages over 12 points, grabs nearly 6 rebounds a night. Drew Sharnowski, the big fella, 11 points for him. He's 68%, and most of them are going to come around the cup. If you need to foul him late, you can, or anytime to keep him from dunking it. 44% from the foul line. Circle that in your notes. 6 rebounds a game for him. McLean, when available, again, a great shooter. The Jenkins kid up front, he's averaging 9.9 a game. Brigham Rogers at 7.7. But Jack Smiley and Ian Dillon, these guys can really shoot it. Smiley on 61 attempts is at 46%. And Dillon, who has really exploded in conference play, 35 of 72 from deep, 49%. He was 5 of 7 the other night, a career high 23 points. The threes and frees will definitely be under pressure against the Bruins, Lindy. That's a weapon you got to take away.
Oh, it's a weapon they have every year, too. I just give anything in 1 year, they'd have a 30% 3-point shooting team. But they don't. And, you know, you know how I feel about shooters. I think I've been talking about it for how many years?
Yeah, well, Rick Bird and Casey Alexander feel the same way Lindy does.
Lindy does, and boy, they've had a lot of success with it. And, you know, every year I want to say, man, we're going to get them. We got them this year. We got them this year. And then I start watching them. I was like, God dang, that's Belmont again.
Yep.
And they're good. They're good. Yep. Right now, you would have to say, eyeball, whatever, statistically, I don't know, margins of victory. I'm sure we probably fell down 3 or 4 on that, but they're the best team right now.
Right now, that's correct.
Right now, they're the best team. I'm not saying they're going to be the best team in March. I think there's a lot of teams that can be the best team in March. Yep. We've seen Belmont go down to the last seconds with, you know, with some of the lower level teams too, and so every night they just had that. That, like I said, if they're behind 2 minutes to go, it's never over with them guys because of just exactly what you said. They can score quickly. Right. They can get 9 points before you know it. I mean, they can get it really fast. And so this game Saturday night concerns me very, very much. Now, like you said, this is a big opportunity too. This is a big opportunity for them guys out here to roll into Nashville and prove who they really are too.
Yeah, well, and a win in Nashville is going to be the best win in conference play so far.
That'll be the win, and then that's got to roll into a streak like those other 3 following games. You know, in a big game with Belmont coming pretty quickly. I mean, what, 2-week difference?
Right.
Just basically close.
Right. Yeah.
Here and there. So, boy, this thing, a lot of stuff's going to happen in the next 2 weeks. There's going to be a lot of shuffling in the next 2 weeks.
Well, and Lindy, here's the thing I think that matters most, and what a great turn of phrase you used there. The best team right now, and look, that's going to happen again and again. You know, we could look at the non-conference, and who did we feel like the best team in the non-conference was? The Murray State Racers. There's no question. In the early stretch, the first stretches of Missouri Valley play, who did we think, and what did the record show? Who was the best team at that point? The Murray State Racers were. Belmont's been right there the entire time, obviously, but right now, Belmont, the best team right now, and maybe right now the Racers are somewhere around 3, 4, 5. Who knows right now? But
probably 4 right now, 3, 4.
But here's the thing that we all know: the only Missouri Valley Conference team going to the NCAA tournament will be the one standing victorious in St. Louis.
That's why it's important to get in that top 4.
Yes. Limit how hard you have to work to get there. But the second half of the league schedule needs to be, yes, wins would be great, but it needs to be about figuring out who you need to be to win in St. Louis. Every night is a dress rehearsal to remember how to compete for 40 minutes, but also to find out what lineups work best together. What defensive adjustments do we need to make? What offensive things? Where are the and that's the thing. These kids are too good. This club is too deep. It's too talented. You don't have to throw everything out here. We're talking about minor adjustments.
That's right.
3 degrees to the right, 3 degrees to the left. But find it so that when you go to Arch Madness, you are the best team right then.
Right, exactly. And can you believe that's not that far off? I mean, we're after the conference season. We played our preseason. It's amazing how fast the basketball season.
Listen, Lindy, the reason we're doing the 70s and the 80s today together is between your shoulder surgery and the realities of where we are. We ain't got a long runway here. We got to show these people who these guys are.
By the way, I imagine a show about the third day into that shoulder surgery would probably be pretty entertaining.
We may have to have somebody guard your phone and your Twitter app.
Yeah, it's big week, but yeah, let's get us a win. I know it's going to be, if they're having red out, and I know Racer Nation loves to go to Nashville. I wish it was a 2:00 game, but and we have a doubleheader, right?
Right, that's right.
Yeah, boy, them are both big games. Because actually, the Belmont Murray game I saw here on the Lady Racers, and I'm going to continue to call them Lady Racers. And just that's the only way I can identify the differences.
When you got 2 racers, you got to.
It's kind of like the ESPN board that runs across. You mean they beat them by 20? Oh, wait a minute. That wasn't the men's score. That was the women's score. But anyhow, it's Belmont looked pretty good to me. They had some size.
Yeah,
like
and when they were here, Lindy, they were without their best guard, so there'll be plenty of a problem.
They had a starter out, but I did not know they had a really good starter out.
Yeah, she was absent. She'll be back, and the task will be difficult for both of our clubs. So
nice crowds for the men's game. I thought the crowds have been really good. Crowd was good yesterday. It looked like on ESPN Plus.
Yes, considering the weather, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it looked like
absolutely.
And again, I keep hearing how much they're enjoying watching the Lady Racers play. I hear the comment all the time how much they really enjoy going and watching them play.
Yeah, I can't enjoy it, but I'm glad everybody
else. You can't enjoy it. I can't even text you and say, "Hey, good win." What do you mean, good win? We're awful. So I'm going to stop saying good win unless we win by 40, and then you're going to be just like Michelle. You're going to be saying we should have won by 50.
We'll take that good win when it's the last one, brother. Okay. When it comes with nets and a ticket, then it's all good for me.
All right, I'll hold off until then.
Let's get the Suitor 60 started, and work. Sometimes we work in reverse. We're gonna start with the top here because this is your guy as we start the 70s, and we want to go ahead and make the note that Hector Blondette and Jimmy Young were crossovers into the 70s. Jimmy was all OVC in the 70s. He was an OVC free throw champ in the 70s, so he's absolutely in the backcourt on this roster. But we're going to start with Lindy's guy, his player of the decade for the 70s, the All-American Les Taylor out of Carbondale, Illinois. Over the course of his career, 1,477 points, 539 rebounds, again, in just 3 seasons. OVC scoring champ in 71-72 at 25.6 points a game. He pulled down 8.3 rebounds. He made 138 free throws. This man beat a path to the free throw line for his career, 21 points a night, nearly 8 rebounds a night, 51.5% shooting. We also know, because they started tracking assists in 72-73, he handed out 83 helpers. But more than anything, I get to talk to the guy that absolutely loved to watch him play. The numbers can't do him justice. Tell us about Les Taylor.
He's not only the greatest player of the 70s, he's the greatest player of the 60s and the 70s. And I'm going to go in there and say he was ever good as who the best player is going to be in the 80s. And when you start throwing out those statistics in 3 years, and, you know, a stat that you'll look through 1 year, there's going to be less games played because I think he broke his hand. I'm not for sure how he broke it. Might have been on an opponent's jaw, but because he was one tough dude, you didn't want to mess with Les Taylor. But not only was those offensive statistics there, this dude could clamp you down. He was probably one of the best defenders we've ever had, too. Call Doug Collins and ask him.
And Doug Collins was a tremendous player.
Les Taylor is. I promise you, he does. Les Taylor was Murray State's version of Walt Frazier. SIU had Walt Frazier back in the day, and if you'll read the stories about Illinois high school basketball, Les Taylor is known as one of the greatest basketball players that's ever played high school basketball in the state of Illinois. A lot of great players have come out of Chicago and different places, but he was that good. He was a top 50 player coming out of high school. This wasn't a guy that come out of Cherry Valley, Arkansas, or South Carolina, you know.
Right.
No, And boy, he could. I got to tell the story. I know people have heard it over and over, but I'll never forget it because I can still picture it. I know exactly where I was sitting. Is when he came on his recruiting visit. And of course, the master was recruiting Benny Purcell. That's Benny Purcell's guy. Benny Purcell's an Illinois, Southern Illinois guy, and he tried to capture Illinois. That was one of his hot spots. They brought him in, and back in the day, and they ought to start doing it again, I guess, because there's no rules. But you could actually take the player out to half court and introduce your recruit, or you could have a parade on the court square, like we did for Butch Beard. We lost him to Louisville, but we had a parade on the court square for Butch Beard's visit to Murray State. That's the truth. There's pictures of it in the Banner Years book. So anyway, and he came in and he had that chops and he had the afro and he already looked like he was 24. I mean, he really did. And he had on this green leather jacket with a big flap and it hit about right here. And he had some nice looking ladies escort him out to center court. And they introduced Les Taylor to the Murray State fan base. And that whole place went nuts. And if you'll look back at any of the old stories, that visit right there helped Les Taylor make his decision when he saw the passion of Racer Nation. And boy, did he carry that passion on. And I still think the biggest, I don't even know what to say. And I guess it had to do with who was in administrations and who was the president, who was the AD. And Coach Luther was probably into it with the president because that was about the time all that stuff started shaking loose.
Right.
And whoever came in afterwards, we had Overton and kind of went through that spell. So whoever was in charge didn't properly recognize the people that should have been recognized at that time, like we do now.
Right.
I mean, we got a guy now that plays like Les Taylor does, or like Claude Burden done, or like Dick Cunningham did. We'd have their number hanging in the 5-year period.
Right. Well, what they did for John, what they did for Caitlin Young.
You know, and you can't put it on this administration.
Right.
They didn't even, some of them not old enough to even watched him play.
Right.
And I just over and over, I have beat that drum. I have beat that drum, and I'm about tired of beating that drum, and I'm fixing to put his number on my wall. And then
Well,
maybe others will mean something to me.
well,
But just what did he do? What did he do? He's two-time All OVC Player of the Year. Now, this is when we had the number 4 team in the country in the conference. We had the number 18 team in the conference, which was us. This wasn't done during a period of time when the OVC was 28 out of 31, like has been done with some of the guys.
Right.
They're up there, not taking anything away from them. But the conference Les Taylor played in was the Missouri Valley Conference that we're playing in now.
Well, and Les was he was a national college basketball star.
Yes, he was. I mean, yeah, he was a tweener. Somebody might say, well, he didn't play in the NBA, but you know, he didn't have the right size to play in the NBA at that time. He was a 6'3", wasn't it? 6'3", is that what his size?
6'3", 6'4", yeah.
And he could play 2, 3, 4, 5. He could guard Jim McDaniels if you put him on. And but for some reason, those people during that time period in the 70s right there did not do these players justice.
Yeah.
And it really bothers me that didn't happen, but I guess that's just the way it is.
Well, and we've got you here to remind people how special he was. And I mentioned this to Lindy before we got started today. If you go back to Jim Jennings being selected OVC Player of the Year in 63-64, he was OVC Player of the Year that year. Claude Verdon in 68-69, Les in 71-72, 72-73, Gary Hooker in 79-80, Glenn Green 82 and 83, Jeff Martin 87-88, 88-89. They had an OVC Athlete of the Year that Gary Hooker won in 79-80. Martin won it twice in 88-89. Les was an OVC scoring champ. Martin was an OVC scoring champ. Jennings, Dick Cunningham, Marcellus Starks, Gary Hooker, Ricky Hood were all OVC rebounding champs. Glenn Green and Don Mann led the conference in assists. Taylor, Starks, and Chris Ogden in the 70s and 80s led the OVC in field goal percentage. Jeff Martin and Paul King were among the first three-point percentage champs. Jimmy Young led the conference in free throw shooting in 69-70. And I've got a list of all OVC stuff we'll talk about here in a minute. Again, some of these players are just flat out all-timers. Lamont Sleets, who was just recognized this year, was a 4-time All-OVC selection. He's one of the program's all-time leading scorers, and he's number 3 in assists.
I know.
Recognition well overdue.
Oh, recognition well overdue. Like I said, I don't know. I was, you know, when you're talking about the 70s here, the early 70s, and Les Taylor, you're talking about, I'm 13, 14 years old then. So I'm at the height of the youth being excited about Murray State basketball.
This matters to you.
You're in middle school. I'm the starting point guard for Top Murray Middle School Tigers, and I meet up with basketball and the Racers. That's where I'm going, and I'm watching, and I'm studying everything. And, man, Les Taylor, and people might say, well, Lindy, you wasn't but 13 or 14 years old when you were watching Les Taylor play. Well, it just shows you how good he was, because I can still remember a whole lot about Les Taylor, because he put a whole lot of memories in his head.
Well, and a whole bunch of adults handing out awards must have thought, as you said, he was Player of the Year twice in a league at the height of its powers at the time. So we'll move down our 70s roster here, Lindy, kind of working chronologically here with some of these guys. Another one of our crossover guys, Ron Johnson, who was a rebounder supreme.
Big Cat. Called him Ron Big Cat Johnson.
He was 68, 69, 69, 70, 70, 71, number 9 all time, both in total rebounds and rebounds per game, including averaging 12.5 a game in 69, 70.
Another guy that I bet if you went out on the street right now and asked a Murray State fan, who's Ron Johnson?
Yeah. No idea.
Now, some of them wouldn't know if you said who was Big Cat Johnson.
Right.
What it called him, because he was a big cat. That dude was a cat. I mean, he was a rebounder, he was a competitor, and he was on a heck of a good team, too. Really good team. Yeah, I remember Ron Johnson. You know, when I was going through that list and I was trying to come up with 10, and there was a few of them in there, I said, nah, I got to have Ron Johnson in there.
Yeah, but when you're talking about a player who basically averaged a double-double for his career. His career scoring average was 10.1 a game. His rebound average 10.7. The guys that are in that double-double for a career category all are pretty special players. Another one of those guys, Lindy, Marcellus Starks, 71, 72, 72, 73, 73, 74. For his career, he averaged 14.6 points and 11.7 rebounds, 56.5% shooter, 1,096 points, 875 rebounds. His total rebounds, 8th all time. His rebound per game average is 4. He averaged as many as 15.8 points a game in a season, as many as 12.8 rebounds a game. And I believe we just told you he was a OVC rebounding champ in 73, 74, and a field goal percentage leader, 72, 73, 73, 74, a guy getting it done in the paint.
Yeah, he was smooth. He was smooth, Travis. He had a really smooth game for a big man. He could do a lot of the stuff I guess some of the big men now do, even then. But he was also a great rebounder, great competitor. People might not know this, but if you do a Google search on Marcellus Starks, you're going to be very shocked and surprised at how great of a career he had after he left Murray State. He is very well known overseas. He was one of the first, I think, American stars to really go overseas and play basketball. But if anybody's out there, just do it real quick and it'll pop up. He played for a long time, had a long career. He actually visited here not long ago. He actually came down for a visit. And so that was kind of cool too, because I really like when those guys actually come back.
Yeah. And probably need to do something that, just to bring all these guys out on the floor and recognize. Maybe they could announce the all suitors 60s, 70s, 80s teams and have those guys come out special. I'm just telling you, it's a great concept. Mike Coleman, 72, 73, 73, 74. In 73, 74, he averaged 24.1 points a game, double-double both years, totals of 20.8 points per game, 11.2 rebounds per game. In 2 seasons, 1,038 points, 560 rebounds.
Yeah, and then, he was a tough dude. He came right along with Les Taylor. He was right after Les Taylor. In fact, they might have played 1 year together, if I remember correctly.
72, 73. Yeah.
They did play the 1 year together, and he was a scorer. Chug Coleman's what they called him. Chug was his nickname, and that's about what he was. He was Chug Coleman, and he could score, and he could score with the best of them. If I'm not mistaken, and this is the story that happened that a lot of people might not know, is that during that time period, the last year that Mike Coleman, Darnell Adale, who was one of the quickest point guards we've ever had here at Murray State, and then there was another 6'7" kid named T.J. Jamison, all 3 of them. The OVC got called for some kind of doings with the SAT scores that the OVC was taking and converting them to an ACT score, and all of them got rolled ineligible at the school they were at. They were allowed to transfer, but they were ineligible to play at the OVC. So that next year, Fred Overton didn't have Mike Coleman, he didn't have Darnell Adale, and he didn't have T.J. James. He lost 3 starters that were going to be returning. Mike Coleman, if I'm not mistaken, might have led the nation in scoring at Southern Mississippi.
Wow.
Yeah, look it up. Look it up. Darnell Adale was a starting point guard at North Carolina State. Pretty good player.
Yeah.
Really quick. Darnell Adale was quick. And TJ was one of those guys. He was one of those Chris Ogden guys. He was one of those guys that got some stats and helped the team be better. We lost those guys, and it really put Coach Overton in a bad spot. Just think about right now, put anybody in a bad spot, especially 3 good players like that. And so that was kind of the time period there where you started noticing the slide.
Right.
It was good timing for me because that was hitting the mid-70s, and Lindy was playing on 3 different sports teams. And I was into my own games. I was into my own games. So I was kind of watching out of the side of my eye because I was out doing my own deal. So, those years right in there, but right there. And then another little thing that happened during that time period, and we'll get to that with Percy. We had Jesse Williams and Grover Willard after that, which we'll talk about, that also Fred Overton recruited. Fred Overton was a good recruiter. He had Larry Moffitt that ended up being at Las Vegas and ended up being a star at UNLV, but he got removed here for some kind of disciplinary reason that now they probably, but they also had Overton living out in married housing too. A little bit different from where those coaches are living at right now. So I think a message was being sent by Mr. Dino Curris. But anyway, that he might be crossways with them. But when Overton got let go, and some people might not know this, but for 1 year, my dad had a commode top that had the UK emblem on it. He sure did.
The ultimate form of protest.
Yes. It's true.
You know.
I know. I remember saying, I going, what the heck, Dad, you turned into a Kentucky fan?
Hey.
You got a Kentucky commode top?
You've gone wrong when you have forced Gerald Suter into the arms of Kentucky.
And I had to beg him. I begged him. I says, you got to get back on. We've got this Ron Green coming in. He's got these big things. He's got these big plans. I should have gave Overton the same thing. Yeah. But he got over it. Of course, winning helped.
Yeah, it always does.
I don't know how thrilled he was about that first year. I think he probably had that chest puffed out a little bit. But he came back.
They beat Western twice.
But people, that helped. That helped. That kind of got him going. And then I made him listen to Ron Green on a radio show in Louisville. I remember sitting in the room. He called his racer room later. I said, listen to him. And he listened to that, and he got back. But for 1 year, my dad was very questionable, didn't go to the games, and almost, but it is kind of funny, though, that his first UK thing was actually the toilet.
he would only go so far.
That's hilarious, really, thinking back on it. At the time, I was serious, man. I'm thinking, my dad can't quit being a Murray State fan. Surely this ain't going to happen. But anyway.
Changed history by pulling him back in.
Anyway, I had to throw that in that during that time period, because I like to kind of relate these players to also about where I was at.
Well, that's the best part of it.
As a fan. And I will have to say that man, maybe that's why we went through the losing, because we did a lot of winning at Murray High when I was there. And when I was disappeared from Murray State, we did a lot of losing. So when I came back,
disappeared.
Just kidding.
And by the way,
but it's perfect timing, because during that time period, I had other things on my mind too.
The thing about being a kid is you love who you. That's just like right now. The young kids that are Racers fans don't care about the 3-game losing streak.
No,
the guys that they love are guys that they love, and they will love those guys, the memories of them, for the rest of their lives. And that's what's special about this particular history.
Okay,
Jesse Williams, Lindy, was the first 4-year star. He was 72, 73 through 75, 76. So he had an additional year to put numbers together, and man, did his game grow as some of these other big-time players would move on. Jesse would take on a greater role, 7.2 points and 10.7 points his first 2 years. His junior and senior seasons, 20.8 and 21.1. He was also grabbing 9 rebounds a night when it was all said and done, over 1,500 points, nearly 750 rebounds. A great career for Jesse Williams.
Yeah, he sure did. He had a good year. Like I said, but that's kind of the time period where I was not watching as intense as I was at 13 years old, or as I was when I was 23 years old. But I do remember Jesse, and he had a great jump shot too. He had one of those picture-perfect shots, and he was 6'7", I think.
Yep.
Very mobile, very skilled player. Another player that was actually recruited out of Chicago, I think. And he was a top 100 high school player coming out of high school. He was a highly recruited player, and he had a really good career. It's unfortunately that was about the time things started going a little squirrely with administration and all that kind of stuff. And but he had to be on the list for sure.
Yeah,
he would be a starter with good figures on any of the good teams that we've had.
Right.
Any really good teams. Jesse would have played for any of them.
Jesse all OVC twice, as was Mike Coleman. Also on this list, a man who was selected all OVC in his senior year, Grover Woolard, Grover, throughout his career, again, a 4-year guy who it just kind of continued to build for him throughout his career. He averaged as many as 16.6 a game in a season, averaged nearly 7 rebounds his junior year, 13.3 points, 4.5 rebounds throughout the course of his career, 1,363 points total, 467 rebounds. But Grover was also the first guy to play his entire career with assists being tracked, and he handed out over 110 in each of the final 3 seasons of his career, nearly 400 assists total.
6'9".
How about that?
6'9" point guard. He probably weighed 180, not 160 when he got here. Because I'll never forget, Coach coming down the station said the Grover needs a little dental work. Grover had come from New Jersey. I mean, New York, I think.
Right.
I'm not for sure. But anyway, he had a rough time. So we got here, and we got that straightened out pretty quick. And he gained about 10 pounds after that. And he was a really good player. He almost made the Lakers, and that was before we had 50, 60 NBA teams. Some of these guys would be playing in the NBA if they'd had as many teams as they had back. 2. We would have, if they had that many teams, Les Taylor might have played a career even at his size.
Right.
But he was good, and he was kind of had a pro game. If you can just imagine the 6'9". Now he's skinny. He's skinny. One of the skinniest players I believe I remember us having. But man, for 6'9", he could, like you said, he could get the assist. He was a real good player. Shame he didn't get to play on one of our great teams too, because he could have played for any of them. Yeah,
his profile, tremendous. Mike Muff, also a guy that was kind of caught in those lean times in terms of winning, but man, what a producer at 6'5", averaged over his 2-year career 21 points and 9 rebounds. His final season as a Racer averaged nearly 24 points, grabbed 9.5 rebounds, and did it while shooting 49%. 2-year totals of 1,077 points, 453 rebounds.
Yeah, and rest in peace. 2-3 weeks ago, I just saw it come across on the internet. Just briefly doing a Murray State search on X that Mike had passed away, and that was 2 or 3 weeks ago. And that again, that bothers me too. I mean, you got Les Taylor that's got to be getting up there in age now, and you just run out of time.
Yep.
And these guys don't need to be getting these awards and stuff after they're they need to be able to enjoy them while they're alive. But anyway, but Mike was a player. He was a good scorer. He was another stocky player. Probably, what'd you say, 6'5"?
Yeah, 6'5" was the list. Yeah.
And he was tough. Like I said, don't remember those guys as well as I do the guys in the early 70s or the late 70s. There's just that little 3-4 year period.
Right.
It's kind of great to me.
Another player that'll round out our 70s, and then we'll transition to the 80s, John Randall, who got a lot done in the front court and had a great senior year. I believe earned all OVC honors in 78-79, 13.1 points, 8.4 rebounds a game, and had a really solid 3 years with the Racers. 9.5 and 6.7 rebounds in his first season, 6.8 rebounds in the next year, and then again 13.1 and 8.4. And another one of those guys at 6'8", a formidable presence for the Racers.
Yeah, I mean, he was a borderline guy and getting on that list. And if I got into the 90s and others, there's probably been others that would have replaced him. But he was still a really good player. Let's see. I want to get it right. What I remember John Randall for, this is one of the best stories ever. It was back when you had the jump ball. You had to tie it. If it was on one end of the court, they had it at the free throw line. Kind of like, I guess they do in the NBA, right? The NBA still do that. I don't know. We don't, but whoever gets lucky with that era. But anyway, and that era sometimes is very important.
Very important.
Very important. But we're at Western, and he's there at the free throw line, and it's a jump ball. And John Randall asked the referee if he tipped the ball in, would he count? Yeah. Guess what? He
Man tipped it in.
And I don't know if I've ever seen that ever before, but he actually, on a jump ball from the free throw line, made 2 points.
Clever man.
That before, and
yeah,
and asked if he could do it before, so it wasn't
right.
It wasn't
right.
like accident.
Yeah.
But John kind of got caught at the end of that career, and I think Coach Green was starting to come in right at the end of his career. Is that right?
That's right.
But I had to throw him in there just because, that one play really. But and trying to fill out that era also.
Yeah. Well, another one of our transition guys there from the end of the 70s into the 80s was a favorite of a lot of people that watched the team back in those days. Kenny Cornbread Hammonds, Lindy, on our list. And Kenny had some injury problems during his career, but really got off to a great start as a freshman when he first came in. Really, really good right out of the gate. Had 11 points a game, shot 52.3%. And again, his role kind of was lessened over time as some of these other best guys came in, but got hurt, only played 13 games in the 79-80 season, but averaged 10.6 points and 6 rebounds a game, 11 points, 6.4 rebounds a game. And even though in 81-82, his last year, scoring was down a little, still shot 53% and shot about 52% for his career as a Racer.
And had a very good teammates that year too, if I remember correctly. And there's all kinds of plays you can remember about Kenny Hammonds, but the dunk must have just got back. When did they bring the dunk back? I know they took it away for Lou Alcindor.
Yeah, that would have been in the 70s that the dunk returned.
Because that's when I said, okay, because I don't remember very many dunks until Cornbread Hammonds came to town. And when he came to town, he could dunk. And then I've got videotapes of them. Anybody wants to see some dunks? The dunk was not invented today. They dunked it back then too. That's Julie Irvin.
We've been dunking a while. Yeah,
well, dunking for a while. And he was the first one that could dunk. But, man, we had a game where Coach Green called a great play. And I've got it on tape, and it's so good of a play. We run the play down to the half court. We call timeout because time's getting shaky. Glenn Green's throwing the ball in. He throws an alley-oop from about half court, between half court and where the coach is standing, I guess, where the little used to be the 5-second line. I don't know. You know the little line I'm talking about.
Oh, yes.
He was on the side, and he threw that ball, and Cornbread Hammonds came out of nowhere on an alley-oop, out-of-bounds play, and stuffed that thing, and we won the game.
And Glenn, as we're going to talk, one of the great passers in program history. And
we're on a minute. Do you think we need to talk about the 80s, or do you think we need to say it? It's up to you, bro. It probably won't take us long, will it?
Let's go get them, because I want to make sure these guys get their proper recognition, and again, we've got more guys to come.
Hour, not a minute. I said a minute. Hour. Go ahead.
But talking about the dunk and Gary Hooker, for me, when I'm beginning to understand what's going on, I mean, this guy coming up from Mississippi State, and of course Coach Green had recruited him there. But as the program begins to turn, these guys, and of course Kenny Hammonds was part of this, but Hooker, Green, Sleets, these guys, they begin to be big time. And the season Gary had 18.6 points, 538 total on the season, shot 55%, and a whole bunch of those were dunks and alley-oops, things of those natures. 12.3 rebounds a game, 356 rebounds total. Doing all this, by the way, at about 6'4", 6'5", and skinny as he could be.
Yeah, but he's long.
But his impact was simply incredible. Again, he was OVC Player of the Year, OVC Athlete of the Year, and really helped Coach Green turn this thing into the program we know today.
Him and Coach Green. I mean, those banners, and I said it the first year we had the basketball reunion Hoopalooza when I spoke. And I looked at the banners that were behind me, and I looked at Ron Green. And I pointed at Ron Green. And I said, this man's right here is a lot responsible for all those banners because of the way he thought, the guys he brought into the program. And I think obviously Ron Green and Gary Hooker, because the team wouldn't have been what it was without Gary Hooker. And not only was Gary Hooker a great player, he was a great person. He was easy to communicate with. He was friendly with everybody. Didn't he play with the Globetrotters afterwards? Is that
He
right?
did.
Yeah.
Yes.
Had a lot of career with the Globetrotters. He was just that kind of guy. And we only had him for 1 year. And that was, Coach Green brought him in as a transfer. I think the coach that took Coach Green's place didn't think he was good enough to play there.
That's right.
And so Hooker came up here and played, and I think Coach Green called Coach Hatfield and thanked him.
Yes, that was
Thank you very much.
That was quite an ad, and again, what a time it was. We would also benefit from Mississippi State later when Ricky Hood comes along and is the new Gary Hooker, and we'll talk about Ricky in just a minute. But coming in there in that 79-80 season, a little guard out of Eminence, Kentucky.
Woo!
Lamont Sleets comes in, all 5'10" of him, where he had mostly in high school got his business done around the basket. He was so quick. He was such an explosive leaper at his size. And Coach Green would always tell a great story about how Lamont was underappreciated because of packaging. They didn't feel like that he was a pure point guard, whatever, and he wasn't this big and whatever. Glenn Green was this slender, too skinny forward out of Henderson, Kentucky at 6'6", and Coach Green said, all I saw was two great basketball players, and we just put them in the roles that made the two of them special. Lamont was terrific right out of the gate, 16.8 points, 157 assists as a freshman. Glenn was 9.2, 6.2 rebounds, 99 assists for him. And these guys, Lamont dealt with an injury, so he had a redshirt year. He was here for 5 seasons total. But when all was said and done, Sleets averages 17.1 a game, scores 1,902 points, hands out 458 assists. Green scores 1,557 points, 609 rebounds, hands out 423 assists. Sleets is number 3 in assists all time. Green is 5. Green actually is OVC Player of the Year in 82-83 off of 19.5 points, 6.1 rebounds, and 102 assists. These guys were tremendous. Add Ricky Hood to the group. You just might as well talk about all these guys together. Ricky comes in 81-82, 82-83. For his career, averages 15.1 a game, 9.5 rebounds a game, shoots over 56%, 860 points, 544 rebounds. These guys, special.
And he got the dunker champion, Ricky Hood. What's it? The Bad Mama Jamma. That's what they call
Coming
him.
out of the rafters.
And they had the big sign up there where the old press box used to be. It said, Bad Mama Jamma. And boy, he could dunk it. And I've got those highlights too. Like I said, anybody thinks the dunk was invented today didn't see Ricky Hood dunk it. And, that brings me to a good Suitor story, and I've told it before somewhere. But my dad took me and Tony Thurman and Timmy Garland and Dad and his buddy to UAB, Birmingham, the Birmingham Classic. UAB was, Gene Bartow was at UAB. Tom Penders was at Fordham. Fordham was actually good then. And we rode in there, Little Murray State. I know exactly where we're staying, where the room we're at, where we went after the game. But anyway, we rode in there, and we knocked off Tom Penders and Fordham by about 30-something points, just whopped them off the floor. And then we came back to play UAB, who was very formidable. Gene Bartow, this was a really good team. And we knocked them off in the championship game, and they won the UAB Classic. And that's when I knew that team was really, really, really special. They lost a key ingredient to that team over Christmas after that tournament, and that was Veda Martin, which we have discussed before, 6'7" forward that would have made a difference. Unfortunately, that team got knocked off in the OVC tournament, but that was a really great team. Glenn Green was just one of those quiet assassins, man. He wasn't flashy. I'm surprised he got OVC Player of the Year looking back on it, just because he was not that kind of guy. Now, you're talking about Lamont Sleets. You're talking about the original Isaac Cannon.
Right. Explosive. Yes.
If I go to Benny Purcell and up there in the corner and I say, hey, Benny, what about this Isaiah Cannon guy? You say Lamont Sleets, Lindy. He's got Lamont. He says the best one we've had since Lamont Sleets.
That's pretty high praise.
Benny would say forever Lamont Sleets was the best guard
right
that we had, and he would probably say that all the way up to John Morant. but because he was that good. And like you said, he was 5'10", and he was a stocky, well built. And I don't how many he didn't play with the 3-point play his whole career either.
Well, he did get the test year. Remember when we had the test year?
Test year.
Yes. And that year, that was 82-83. He made 43 threes that year. Yep.
So how many points would he have scored? I ain't no telling. There's no telling.
He's well over 2,000.
I go back and watch those highlights, and the line's not out there, and I watch him pull up, and he could lead. He was one of those guys that was, you always heard me when I'd say Isaiah Cannon or Justin Burdine or DT Mays. They could elevate and shoot.
Yes, jump shooters.
They could jump shoot.
Yes,
and they could get up, and they had it down, and he could do that. If you watch him, he'd get up. And he pulled off. I've got it on tape. I've got all this stuff. That's great. I've got all this stuff. I can go back and watch these guys. I guess I should have to start a YouTube channel and start showing some of these guys.
Well, there you go. Because Lamont was pocket dynamite. He was just
so good. And, I can't believe another thing. Like I've always said, those guys in the 70s, Luther's guys, Ron Green's guys, thank God that, thank goodness that Nico's come along, and at least, Sleets gave him his due honor this year. But and then you get into Ron Green's guys. Why has it took so long for his guys to get recognition? And Ricky Hood and Gary Hooker probably still don't get in fact, one of the biggest, this book right here, we featured 30 players in this book. And that's before John Morant. So Isaiah Cannon's junior year. This last year of this book. I had Ricky Hood on that list. When I got my first copy, I went thumbing through it, and somebody replaced Ricky Hood without asking. I couldn't even hardly read the book because Ricky Hood had been left out of those 30.
Right.
That's how much I thought of Ricky Hood. And Ricky Hood ended up having a family full of basketball players. I think he had 2 or 3 kids. One of them played Duke.
Yep.
And so he was really good. But that whole trio right there, that's a hard trio to beat. Most of the time you just had Sleets and Green.
Right.
You had Sleets, Green, and Hood.
Yeah. And
you had 3 of them.
And for me, who Les Taylor was for Lindy, that's who these guys and the next couple of fellows that are coming here in a minute, that's who they were for me. Just special memories. And the NCAA tournament standard, and of course, getting into the tournament was different years ago, but the OVC was different. And so some of our biggest moments as Murray State fans were going to Notre Dame and seeing Coach Green and the Racers beat Digger Phelps and the Fighting Irish.
That's when the mark was made. That's when it was really made.
Yes.
That's the first time that Murray State really threw on. And then, they went to, they put a whooping up. They got cheated at Illinois. They'd have been in the Final Four at NIT.
Yep.
They just flat out got cheated, man.
And did beat Alabama at Alabama.
And Alabama had a good team. I think they had Rah Scott. And
that was the Rah Scott team.
Yep. Rah Scott team. They were really good and beat them at Alabama because they made us take the road. And then, of course, the year with Hooker, we got to play Wake Forest at home, which was a heck of a game, too. Yep. Do you remember? Wake Forest was really good. They were an NCAA team this day and time for sure.
Yeah, without
Murray and probably were, because you'd had computer rankings back then. We'd have been highly ranked.
Yes. Well, and imagine being able to host an ACC team in the postseason.
Yeah. Exactly. That doesn't happen. The only thing I didn't like about any of that little period right there was that old floor. I hated that old floor.
Yeah.
I had to play on that old floor at Murray High, too. I hated that.
Yeah,
that's floor, tartan floor, whatever in the world it was.
Yeah, that surface was not great, but the basketball being played on it
was really good.
Was spectacular. So there was a little transition period between Coach Green's best, his departure, and then Steve Newton's rise to the team that would eventually beat North Carolina State in '88. And Lindy, by the way, if you want to know how old we are, it is this March would have been 38 years since they beat Valvano and the Wolfpack in '88.
38 years since me and Tony and Donnie and Timmy took off to Lincoln, Nebraska.
My goodness. So a guy I slipped in here just to kind of give some depth to our 80s roster, because individually he was really terrific. Again, the program was kind of finding its way in transition times. But Chuck Glass, an Elkton, Kentucky guy, in 2 years with the Racers, really, really good, including an all-OVC campaign, an 85-86, 18 points a night, and nearly 7 rebounds that season. So I wanted to throw Chuck in there because he was the best guy at that time.
Yeah, he's a good player.
Now you get to another dynamic duo and then some guys that were just phenomenal. Paul King and Chris Ogden are just two of the great role players that we've ever had, and guys who starred in their role. And we'll go ahead and get those two before we get to the big two. But Paul, a tremendous defender, was always known for his toughness and his ability to lock down. But he was also a great three-point shooter in the clutch, Lindy. 438 as a freshman. Not a lot of attempts, but nearly 44%, 37.5 as a sophomore, nearly 47% as a junior, 36% for his career. He shot over 40% from three, and Paul just a winner in every way. Chris Ogden in his career, a huge part, a power forward on that club in 87, 88. By his senior year, he was nearly a 12-point-a-game scorer, but in his career, nearly 700 rebounds, 59% shooters. And those two guys just did a whole lot of stuff to contribute to the winning fabric of those teams.
Oh, we don't do nowhere near what we did without those two. Yeah, there's no question about that at all. I mean, Chris Ogden was what you would call the perfect power forward. I mean, he was just solid. A guy that went out and did his job every night. Wasn't a very emotional guy. Just a solid player. There's no way I could have kept him off that list, even though there's a lot of guys from that team that's actually on that list. But
right.
Paul King was, his number is hanging. And, if you look back on his career, there's probably reason that you could justify him being one of the greats. I think he was the first player to have 4 rings. I think he had 4 championships in a row. Sybil's might have ended up with 4. I don't know. Eric Frederick, he might have had 20. I don't know. But anyway, I think he does have 4. He had 4, so that was good. He was a great all-around player. He chewed gum when he played basketball. That was kind of neat. And in fact, they all chewed gum against NC State, I think. But anyway, he was, and he had a good game against Kansas, I think, if I remember. I mean, Paul was a good 3-point shooter. People don't think about him as a 3-point shooter. When you think of Paul King, you actually think of a guy that could jump out of the gym and could lock you down.
Guard the daylights out of you.
All-around player. He was a heck of an all-around player.
But when you shoot 40% for your career,
that's better than I would have thought. We sure take him right there.
That's something. One other guy that we'll mention, and we'll mention him again on the 90s team, but Greg Coble, Greg's best season with the Racers was actually 90-91. He averaged nearly 14 points a game, but he was a huge wingman for the Popeye Jones clubs. And by the way, we're going to put Pop on the 90s team. He cut his teeth with the M&M boys, Don Mann and Jeff Martin, and Lindy, these guys, for me, I was at the point age-wise with Mann and Martin that you were with Les Taylor. So These guys are incredibly important to me. Don Mann out of Dyersburg, Tennessee, all 5'10" of him, he's listed here. There's no way he was 5'10".
All right.
Number 2 in assists all time, number 5 in three-point field goal percentage. By his sophomore year, and you're going to love this. I'm going to give you some numbers on Mann and Martin that aren't even points that I know you're going to love, because Lindy has always liked his best players on the floor. Don Mann's sophomore year, Lindy, he averaged 15.5 points. He made 72 threes at a 41% clip. He handed out 129 assists. He played 38 minutes a night.
Thank you.
38 minutes a night. His junior year.
The best players played 38 and 40 minutes a game.
Holy cow. 17.7 as a junior, 144 assists, 62 threes at a 42.5% clip from deep. He played 36 minutes a night. As a senior, 13.4 points, a career high, 172 assists, 73s made at a 43% clip, 36 points or 36 minutes a night for his career, 1,449 points, 531 assists, and a man who made threes at a 42% clip for his career. And then there is the man from Cherry Valley, Arkansas, Jeff Martin, the all-time leading scorer. And by the way, did you know the number one three-point shooter by percentage in Murray State history? 11.7 points a game as a freshman, but then 21 points a game as a sophomore, 26 as a junior, another 26 as a senior. His last 3 years, he averaged 37, 38, and 36 minutes a game. He made 535 free throws in his career, and he was 65 of 131 from three as a senior, nearly 50%. He shot 45% from three for his career. All told, 2,484 points, 669 rebounds, 215 assists, and 125 steals, and just as silky smooth a score still as I've ever seen in Murray, Kentucky. Man and Martin, unbelievable.
Unbelievable. Got us to the tournament, almost beat the national champion, and sitting right underneath the goal. But real quick, you said Donnie Mann was 5'10"?
That's what they listed.
Okay. After we won the game to go to the NCAA tournament that year, this is March 1988. Lindy's actually living in Nashville. Lindy's single. Lindy brings his buddies back to Murray. I've convinced them all that this is a team. I get in fights with them almost, and they wouldn't give Murray the credit. And they came back to Murray, and we got us 2 rooms at the Holiday Inn. And this is after the game. My eyes are just they're just barely open. Now I'm 5'7", 5'8". I don't know. It's close. Got it. That is in the Holiday Inn at about probably 11 o'clock by the look of my face.
You sure do look happy.
I was very happy.
Oh, that's so good.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, that was a good story. And I still had that picture. That's what was great. I was going through pictures. Of course, they didn't have phones.
Right.
I had the thing, I don't know. But we had a big time that night at the Holiday Inn. We didn't get kicked out, though.
That's awesome. And listen, that's other than being able to recognize these great players, those stories are that's the best part about this. And I'll tell you, my Don Man story, Lindy, is, of course, when I was little, I was on the Little Racers, the little ball handling team that they had. And then I played high school basketball with Steve Newton's 2 oldest sons, Harv and Jay. So we had a high level of access. In fact, we would often, when we would come to the game, we would often go through the bowels of Car Health, and we would come through the men's locker room, and we would walk out the tunnel. That's how we would get to seats. And I don't know, one night against Austin Peay, I do not know how we got away with being in seats behind Austin Peay's bench, but we are wearing the Governors out all night. I mean, we're just absolutely in their ear the entire time. And at the end, it takes a turn in the final minute, and Austin Peay pulls ahead. And an Austin Peay reserve forward named Myron DeVoe turns around, and he is cussing the group of us like there is no tomorrow. I mean, he is letting us have it. How do you like that? How do you like that? So if you remember, Bruce Jackson, who was on that team, inbounds the ball full court. Let's fly to Donnie Mann just inside half court. Don maybe had time to get off a dribble. I can't remember if it was more than that, but he lets fly. It knocks it in. And of course, the court was stormed and we just lost it. And I just remember DeVoe was about 6'7". I reached up and tapped him up on the shoulder. I said, Myron, have a safe trip home. And we just sprinted into the chaos.
I've got that going on. Yeah.
Man,
I've got that game on. Dave Winder's doing the play-by-play. Murray State News TV's doing the play of the game. They're doing the replay of the game, and so that's one of my first time really getting in with the VHS tapes. I had some from the early '80s that were given to me by Coach Reen, actually, and then Benny Goheen from the '60s. But that's when I really started recording the games.
Yeah,
and I got that. And Dave Winder is a senior in college. And he's getting his degree in, television, whatever. And he's actually doing the play-by-play on that very play. And that's fun to watch. I mean, that crowd just got, because they thought they had that game won. I mean,
absolutely.
they were celebrating on the bench. I mean, it was like, oh man. And that was really the first strike of the M&M boys. That's when they were first started, but not like the freshman year.
Yeah, it was pretty early, I think.
Pretty early. But yeah, those two guys, and that whole team during that time, that's what set it off, going to the NCAA tournament. Winning that game against NC State again put us on the map, and what a trip that was. That was at the time where you go into the Huddle House or the Waffle House or whatever in Lincoln, Nebraska with your Murray State shirt on. And, you were just so proud to be wearing that shirt. Of course, where Murray was or Murray State. So, the story started being told then too. And, that goes back all the way to these years. The story just kept building and building and building the history of Murray State basketball. But that was another milestone right there. That was a heck of a trip. It was a heck of a trip. We could talk for hours about that trip.
Oh, and just.
Well, no, we couldn't either, because a lot of it wouldn't need to be discussed.
We'll save that for YouTube after dark.
Yeah, it was a good group, though. Me and Donnie Winchester, Timmy Garland, and Tony Thurman. We had the back row seats because we were 30 years old. We wasn't on no list.
Right.
We just fans, so we wouldn't have no priority. And they put us on the back row, and we stood the whole game. And Donnie and the guy from Kansas about come to fisticuffs. And I finally went and told the guy from Kansas that you better not mess with Donnie because he's crazy. He's crazy. Okay? And the guy shut up. Because Donnie wasn't backing everybody from nobody at that time, believe me. And so yeah, that was interesting. And then the next game, we got the same back row seats. I'm thinking, are we going to be getting into it with these guys again? And we're walking around the corner, and Bill Rayburn meets me. I got something for you. And he had got some tickets, I guess, for the students or whatever, the allotment then.
Right.
And so he handed me the tickets, and they were 4 tickets on the front row, right underneath the basket.
Wow.
I had to watch the Kansas game. That's where we watched it. When I watch that game, I see the 4 of us. Of course, Thurman had on a tie-dye shirt. He really stood out. I think we ended up, no, he wore the tie-dye shirt the first night. We went and bought him a different shirt for the next game. We got pulled over on the way. We were 30 miles outside of Lincoln on some 2-lane road that was so straight. And we all had to go to the restroom. So we pulled off on another little road. Service stations out there, no truck stops. And we, and all of a sudden, blue lights. Pulls right in there behind us. I'm in the company car. Heck, I hadn't been working there but a month or 2. I don't know how it's registered. I don't know nothing. We had coolers full of beer. I mean, I've been driving, they've been drinking. That's why we had to stop 30 miles out. I shouldn't be telling this story, but it's so old it doesn't matter now. And that cop got out and he said, "Boys, what y'all doing? Where y'all headed?" I had this Tennessee license plate. I'm in the middle of Lincoln, Nebraska. I said, "We're going to the NCAA tournament to watch our Racers play." He looked at me and he says, "Y'all just get on down the road then." So I should have known at that point that we were going to beat NC State.
Good trip.
Because it was
all lining up.
Lucky moment right there too. But anyway, I got off on stories, so we're probably going to go 2 hours. But aren't we about the 80s?
No, we've got them. You've captured them. You've got your list. But again, and all of those things, and for anybody that watches and for anybody that's having their own fan experience now, this is what happens. You have all of these life moments that are tied to the milestones of sports for people, and different people are into other things, but everybody who loves sports knows when you refer to a team, a moment, an event, a player, there is a particular, you mentioned Mike Muff's passing, but it could be anybody. It could be someone, if you're a Dallas Cowboy fan, it could have been when Tom Landry passed, or Vince Lombardi for Packers people, and whatever. But there are these people that will forever be a part of your youth and part of your life. They're as far as you can tell, they were always there. and you have such special, impactful memories tied to them. And all it takes is for somebody to say Murray State beats NC State, and you're back on that side road 30 miles from Lincoln, Nebraska, because that's how this works.
Actually, we ran out the door as excited as we was going to be because we was going to go celebrate. And we went out there and we was blocked in by a Volkswagen. And so we decided we was going to go back in and watch the game. Well, guess we were rookies. We didn't know you couldn't re-enter.
Right.
Once you left, you was out.
You're out.
You use your stub to get back in for the second game. So there we are. What are we going to do? Tony and Donnie and Timmy were stout guys, and they picked the back of that Volkswagen up and moved it out of the way. So when those people came out to get their car had been moved. And I promise you, that is the honest to goodness truth. They picked that car up and moved it. Thank goodness it was a Volkswagen. I acted like I was helping. I wasn't really. I really wasn't helping.
Look with your legs, boys.
That's the end of the story on that trip because, boy, that trip was memorable.
Well, that's good stuff. And let's hope there's somebody else, that there is a new version of Lindy and his group that will get to make that same NCAA memory this year. That's all still out in front of these racers. Again, they're back in action on Saturday. Belmont, men and women, getting after it at the top of the Missouri Valley against the Bruins. If you can, go down and support them. Lindy and I will be back at some point next week to talk about it. By the way, we've had to reschedule our visit with Coach Gottfried. We still intend to do that. If we can pull it off, we'll be working on that. And we'll continue to be revealing the Suitor 60. We'll next be in the 90s. I figure this fella named Jones will be on that list. A lot of good things happening.
That 90s is a good list too.
Yeah, it is a
but by the way, Claude Burden was my player of the 70s, right?
60s.
Or 60s.
Yeah.
Les Taylor's my player of the 70s.
Yep.
And Jeff Martin's my player of the 80s.
Boy, I'll tell you what, Lindy can take these representatives.
And Martin right now.
That's a pretty good team we're building.
And that next team, I don't know.
I got that Jones fella is going to be my rep from the 90s.
Brown and Popeye both are in that group, aren't they?
Yeah, we'll take both of them. Yeah.
It's hard to put one. I mean, it's like when somebody asked me that question.
Yes.
I mean,
Marcus Brown is an all-timer.
Oh, no question. And Popeye, might have been.
Those two guys.
Popeye was right up there with entertainment-wise, though. Popeye was entertaining, too, just because it was Popeye Jones and his story.
He was a phenomenon.
Yeah, he was, it's funny how we've had this. Jeff Martin was Cherry Valley, Arkansas. And the story is that Clayton Wagner is the one that found him for Newton, somebody he knew down in Arkansas.
Right.
And then you got the John Morant that was come out of nowhere. You got Popeye Jones, who to me is probably one of the all-time stories in basketball. Where he come from, his size when he arrived here, what he became afterwards, pro career.
Yep.
Still in the NBA, still coaching. 6'8", 300-something pound shortstop from Dresden, Tennessee. Could jump about 3 inches off the ground.
That's a fact.
Probably 6'6". It's just 6'8", we really need.
Right.
What a story. Well, we'll get to that next year.
Well, and I will say this in closing. To me, and I think people will understand when I say this, there is a particular thing about college basketball. Look, we know Ja's the greatest talent, okay? We know that. And obviously, some of these guys now have gone on to incredible pro careers. They've had that fortune. But just for the depth of his, as you mentioned, the transformation and everything he accomplished for who he was, Popeye Jones to me is one of the great college basketball players ever.
No question. Yes, yeah. No question about it. No question about it.
Yeah.
Ever. He was right there with Shaq when Shaq was playing. He was right there rebounding with him. Now I know some of those rebounds because I might know something about what he might have got for how many rebounds he got. But those offensive rebounds where he would tip it and tip it and tip it.
1, 2,
click,
7.
Click. I'm only kidding.
Hey, kids, NIL ain't new either.
Not really. Just kidding.
Lindy, it's like Ed Orgeron said. They said, Coach O, what's the difference in this era? He said, well, a few years back, we brought the cash in the back door. Now we bring it right in the front.
Well, I can't talk much because I gave a sixth grader $1 for every tackle he made against Mayfield. We had a big game against Mayfield, and I said, hey, man, every tackle you get, you got $1 to go to the Dairy Queen.
Hey, motivation.
I think he come out of there with $7. He was mad because he couldn't run the ball because he was too big. So I had to get him motivated some way.
Money has always done a good job.
We got to win against Mayfield.
Hey, you got it done.
Me and Donnie win. That's one thing we can click off. We got us a win.
All right, I got to let you get something else done on this
I
Friday.
know,
So we're gonna get the heck out of here. People will have to set aside some time to get through all of this. But Lindy, it was awesome. We got the big games on Saturday. Go support the guys and the gals. You got the signature sign off, my man.
Go Racers.